Are you interested in broiler farming? I'm gonna take you to a tour to a broiler farm. This farm is called Prairies, and it is owned and managed by Tara. She has created this video for our students at the University of Alberta. I asked her permission to publish this video through my channel so we can help all the farmers and all the interested people all around the world. So after hearing from Tara about her business, I'll be back and I'll explain a little bit more and discuss further. So enjoy.
Hi, my name's Tara and I'm a chicken farmer here in the Edmonton area. I am the owner of Prairie Livestock and I've been farming chickens now for 20 years. So I'm going to take you on a little tour the next 38 days, aka 20 minutes, of what it is to receive chicks, to place chicks, to grow them for the next 5 weeks on the farm, and then to give you a glimpse at the end of how the birds will exit the barn and head off to the processing plant. So first I'll just take you on a little tour of my farm. So I farm 58,000 birds and I do that over 3 barns. So 1, barn 2, and then the office between barns 2 and barn 3. So in about 40 minutes or so, I'm expecting the arrival of 58,000 chicks, and we'll be placing them into the barn where they're going to spend the next 38 days with us. So before they come, I thought maybe I'd take you on a little bit of a tour of what we find inside the office of barns 2 and 3. So upon entering, you'll see a large white cistern. This is the holding tank for where my water gets treated before it gets sent through the barns and feed the chicks down the water line. So this is where we store all of our equipment, all of our supplies, different things that we're going to need throughout the flock. And this is also where we monitor what's going on inside the barn. So this is how it starts. Here comes my truck and it is full of the chicks that we're going to place today. So loaded on there right now, 58,120 birds, and we're going to place that in approximately 1 hour and 20 minutes time. So while the truck is getting settled behind the barn there and we get ready to unload the chicks, I thought I'd take you through what the barn looks like prior to us opening up the doors and placing them on the feed. So this is a clean barn, fresh sawdust, lines are full of feed. Water lines are still in the air. We need to drive the tractor up here in order to bring the boxes of chicks in. Here's our fans along the wall. I have 10 in each barn. Right now we've got fans 10, 2, let's see, 6, 4, 7, are all basically, we've put winter wrap on them. We were able to maintain the heat in the barn better this way. It'll save us on energy costs. With the high oxygen that's in the air during the winter flocks, we can bring in enough fresh air to be able to run only 3 fans throughout this flock. Typically in the summer flocks, we'll be running all 10 fans at the same time, and inlets will be open at 100% so that we can move air comfortably over the birds and keep them cool. But for now, we are in our winter flock, so here we are. Barn is prepared, and we're about ready to place our chicks. All right, here we go. lines up in order to place. We are now about to bring them down because last but not least, of course, the birds are going to be thirsty. They're going to be looking for something to drink. So the lines are slowly coming down, and I will stop them at just a point where the birds are able to touch the nipple and take their first drink of water. I thought I'd take a moment just to show you the water line a little bit closer up. And as I'm talking, I'm getting a sea of little yellow fuzz balls coming around me. But we've chosen to go with this water nipple because it's a lot cleaner for the barn. It's a lot more sanitized for the bird. What we want them to do is see the shiny nipple. They're attracted to it. And now as they're going to grow, we're going to start raising that up, and they'll always know where that water is. There are some barns that use something called a bell drinker. We prefer not to have open water. If we have water on the barn floor, of course it opens up the barn to different types of bacteria and diseases, and of course that's the last thing we need for our birds as we're growing your food. So I have a couple minutes while we're placing, and I thought I'd just run through the ventilation systems in the barn. So what we have here is a continuous inlet. Some barns use inlets that are on the walls lower down so that they can open each one individually. A little bit different for summer flock and then different again for the winter flock. These barns have a continuous inlet, so it lets in air down 300 feet of the whole barn. So the air is going to come in and it's going to flow across the barn along the roof, and as it starts to tumble across, it'll get pulled out through the fans that are on the far wall there. So every minute or so the air is changing within the barn. So here we have barn 1, very active chicks, been placed on the chick paper. This is the paper we laid down when we were getting the barns ready. So we have a cart that pulls this chick paper through and drops a ton of feed per barn onto the floor. And this is where we start off our chicks. And in due time, and very due time, they'll find, here I even found one here, they'll find where their source of feed is and start doing what they need to do, which is eat, drink, sleep, and grow. Okay, I'm back and we're done. Chicks are all in the barn. Temperature is set at 35 degrees where it will stay for about 4 days, and it will slowly decrease over the 38 days until about 21 degrees, which is our target set point, just before shipping. The barn needs to stay at 35 degrees for the first 4 days for sure, because for the first 14 days of their life, the chicks can't regulate their own body temperature, so it's important for us to make sure the barn maintains a comfortable temperature for them, and then once they produce their own heat, we'll start to decrease the temperature inside the barn.
All right. I hope you have enjoyed the tour so far, and I'm going to continue by adding some more information. And again, we will be back to Tara's farm and we will hear from her more. So, what should we do to have a profitable poultry production? It is our main question here. As a nutritionist, I'm getting this question all the time. What is the best formula? What is the best feeding regime we can have to boost our poultry performance? So remember, to boost poultry performance, we need to pay attention to 3 main components: genetics, nutrition, and management. Nutrition is just one component. We need to have a good genetics, a robust nutrition, and an excellent management. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about management here in this video. So, Tara talked about brooding phase. The first week, she talked about the room temperature, and she explained very well about the management tips that you need to consider during the brooding. Remember, brooding phase is a critical period of care for young chicks. Why? Because you are going to be a host for your guest after a stressful start. The chicks have hatched, waited for processing, been graded, sexed, stored, counted, boxed, vaccinated, and transported to your farm. So they are already under stress, and you need to be a good host by preparing a good environment for them. And remember, our success indicators should be high uniformity, more efficiency, low feed conversion ratio, healthy birds, low mortality, maximize live weight, fast feathering birds with high meat yield. So to do that, we need to be a good host for our guest. As Tara mentioned, chicks are precocial even though they are homeothermic. So it means that although they are warm blood, but during the first week, or let's say first 10 days of age, they need specific attention and specific care because they are vulnerable to the environmental condition. That's why we need to keep the room temperature around 32 to 35 degrees. If the temperature is too high, you're going to experience hyperthermia, dehydration, reduced feed intake, and body weight gain. Pasted vents. Pasted vents means build up fecal materials stick to the back of the chicks. On the other hand, if your environment temperature is too low, so you're going to experience hypothermia, pulmonary hypertension, increased heart rate, and at the end of the day, ascites, which is accumulation of water in the belly, in the abdominal cavity, and it will increase the mortality. So we are going to measure temperature, right? We need to measure air temperature, and also we need to measure the litter temperature and the ground. It means that underneath the litter. So your litter temperature should be between 31 to 32 degrees. You can use a device like this here. It's an infrared thermometer, and you can measure the litter temperature. It's really critical because birds' shank are really sensitive to the cold weather and to the cold environment. If your room temperature is good enough, but you are sitting, on the cold litter, it's not gonna work. It's gonna decrease your bird's performance. So another important thing is about nutrition, because chicks have immature gut and their digestive system and digestive enzymes have not completed yet. So they need to receive highly digestible ingredients. I have talked about this in my previous video about Super Prairie starter diet. Please feel free to check it out. So, because they are going to develop skeletal system, we need to pay specific attention to the dietary calcium, phosphorus, their ratio, and also vitamin D nutrition. So these are some tips for the brooding phase. Some farmers are using partial house brooding. It means that instead of using the whole space at the barn, they are using a confined area so they can just keep the birds in one part of the barn, as you can see in these pictures. So by that, they are going to reduce the amount of space. It means that chicks are closer to the source of feed, water, and heat. And they can find thermoneutral microclimate easily. And by that, you are conserving energy. So one idea is to use 50% of the barn during the first 7 days. After that, until 14 days of age, you can increase this space to 75% of the barn. And after 15 days of age, you can just use the whole space at the barn to raise your chicks.